Guys, we have a new ban list that is coming into effect in the English side from October 10, and that is just before BCS Indonesia, I think. So we're going to be seeing some new focus there. But some of these hits have been really weird, I guess, I'd have to say. But we'll kind of go through it. Let's kind of go through it and talk about it, right? So first we have standard format, no changes, because standard's in pretty good place right now. Nothing needs to change. For V Premium, though, we immediately get hit with the Percival Restrict and the Kokshigarasu Restrict. That is basically these, you cannot use these at all. But that's not all right? There's actually a second page, which is Charon being unrestricted, Ellie being unrestricted, and Kutia being restricted as well. So let's kind of talk about this, right? And talk about the elephant in the room right now. And that is, where is the Mellow Amusement Colossus ban? Right? Basically the organ, the piano, whatever you'd like to call it, the guard restrict for Gear Chronicle that a lot of people have been expecting because Steam Maidens have been dominating. Now, I'm going to just kind of throw it out there. If they hit Mellow Amusement Colossus, right, I think V is in a pretty good place. There's a lot of decks that are good. If they also hit Kutia and Percival as well, I think, yeah, V would be actually in its perfect place, right? But because they actually didn't hit Colossus, Steam Maiden is still probably a tier 1 deck, tier 0 deck. It's up to, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how the format develops. It's still relatively early, but I can, I can see why people run the deck. Let's be real, right? In a way, Percival and Kutia, they're both kind of future-proofing restrictions, because one, with Percival, it's pretty annoying to have to print Gold Paladin cards and always have to factor in that Percival is just an amazing card. And I guess this kind of just frees them up to print out like a proper Percival, right? A proper Percival for Liberators that doesn't require them to errata the card, because, again, errataing cards after their release is probably the last thing you want to do. That's like the most emergency thing you should do. If the card is busted, get rid of it, print another one later on, so there's like absolutely zero confusion. I'm sure you don't want to play a game and just have to keep on going to the errata list all the time, right? That's pretty much it. So that just opens up more good cards that can be printed for Gold Paladin, and I'm sure everyone is sick and tired of Kutia, right? Especially in the V format, because basically what people do is they build a deck in Bermuda Triangle and think, how do I put the Highlander engine in the deck? Now, the problem now is that Highlander doesn't get Kutia anymore, which is kind of bad. But I guess they can print a Kutia that is a hard once per turn in the future, which will kind of solve every single problem. But the other thing is that these aren't exactly the problem right now, right? They're not exactly the problem right now. They were a problem kind of like last format, because right now the biggest problem is the Steam Maidens, right? And Steam Maiden right now is just like the best deck. Do these before I continue, right? The Kokshigarasu as well. This is kind of, it feels like it's just they copying the Japanese side, just syncing that. But let's talk about the unrestricted and how they impact the format, right? So, one, Ellie being unrestricted, it doesn't do anything. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Ellie, not very great. It was good in a non-Steam Maiden kind of format. Right now, Bermuda's not as good. So Ellie, cool, right? It's cool, but let's say something like Prism, you can't play Prism still. It's still Rose's banned, so you're only going to be using it in like kind of like an orange deck. But then you could already do that because you can't run Katir anymore. So yeah, Ellie's just kind of like weird, right? But also Charon. Charon is the big one. So right now, Steam Maiden is like the sole best deck in V Premium. With Charon, I think it's going to be a 2-deck format, and that's just pretty much Luard versus Steam Maidens all day, every day. That's pretty much. I think that is going to be pretty much the entire format. And then maybe like, another deck that just can kind of high roll you. That's pretty much it. If these, like, let's say you go, okay, Steam Maiden is too strong, right? Let's hit that. But that just leaves Charon, like, not Charon, but Luard as the best deck. I think I've been saying Charon is the best deck. But yeah, Luard will just be the best deck. So right now, format is basically Luard versus Steam Maiden. That's what I think. Getting that Ildona sped the deck up really quickly, but because in English we don't have the Charon to kind of get free resources, then you have to play it a bit more carefully. But now you don't. You actually don't. You can actually play like Luard is now basically, I think, relatively really good. Like in terms of if they face any deck that is not Steam Maiden, they're pretty much like kind of invincible. They can play, not invincible, but they can play every single game they want to play, right? They can play the slow game, they can play the long game, they can play the short game. They have all the resources, yeah? And then, now we all know how good Steam Maiden is. That's pretty much it. So in terms of V Premium format, I feel like they could have killed one to save the whole format, but instead, they decided to bring one deck up to kind of have like a 1v1 kind of thing. I don't know. Not like the Gurgit, the Gurgit here, right? This personal hit really should have been done last time, right? Last format, I think, and the Katir hit as well. But it is what it is, right? But then let's take a look at the premium changes, and there hasn't really been much, right? I think this is a bit disappointing. I know a lot of people would find this kind of disappointing. This is pretty much exactly the same as the Japanese premium changes, which is okay. Like, it's not, it's good, right? We got rid of like 2 really bad decks in the format, which is Mystery Flare and Odysseus, and then they kind of synced the Nizari hit and the Ruination hit. But then we have like a lot of people are expecting decks like Narukami to get hit, which has basically shown like a lot of power, right? A lot of power. A lot of people wanted either the Stunverse to be hit or the Exterminate to be hit. I think either one would have been fine, right? To make it so Narukami just doesn't have as much options as they do now. There's like actually just no way to play around an Narukami except like don't play down cards. But then you walk into an Exterminate, so that's... It feels like Narukami has a lot of options. They also have like Battle Phase retires and everything you want. So overall, people were expecting that to be toned down a bit. And in terms of results, Narukami was performing very, very well, even in this kind of format, right? MFD can brick, Ripple can brick, but Narukami so far, like if you look at all the tops, I think Narukami actually has the most amount of tops when it comes to this current format, at least in all the BCSs. So it was quite surprising that they didn't get hit. And yeah, so you can still play Narukami, but you know, I guess the plus side here is that the super cancer decks aren't around anymore. So what does this mean? Like, one thing I do want to say though, it feels like they can be more aggressive again with the premium ban list. I just feel like they're taking it too slow, right? They're taking it too slow. Premium does need... You can't just rely on data to hit stuff in premium. You have to be much more kind of, you know, have more foresight, right? Have more foresight in a way on what might like on what might be problematic, because it is a huge format, and to be fair, the players will be discovering way more cards than like probably the people, you know, deciding the ban list, like or the developers of the cards. Because let's be real, right? You know, if you're designing a card, you have a lot of things to worry about, right? You don't have time to go through your huge database of cards to find out super obscure dirty combos, while players do, right? You know, there's a lot of players out there that can just sit there and go, hey, look at this weird combo, right? Let's make it work. Let's break the game. So I feel like with premium, especially in V as well, right? Especially in V, this format gets supported like once every 6 months. So if you don't have a good list, you're basically waiting for the Fighters Rule update to be able to change the format. And does it change enough? I think so far it hasn't. And in terms of here's the one thing, right? Here's another thing. In terms of the Steam Maiden problem, right? This was if you think about when did Steam Maiden suddenly become a real issue, is from last week they released the ban list on, I think, Wednesday, right? The Japanese list. And then over the weekend, Steam Maiden became a huge issue, right? Well, not a huge issue, but like it just developed into the current problem where like 5 Steam Maidens in top 8, 6 Steam Maidens in top 8. That looks pretty bad, right? So in terms of time, I'm guessing, you know, Busho didn't have a lot of time to implement anything, because again, companies, right? If you worked in a company before, you know things can go pretty slowly, right? You know, you'd be like, I want approval. Can we do this? All right, can you make something for this? You know, what does he say? What does the boss up there say, right? There's a lot of things to go through, so I can kind of see why, you know, a Steam Maiden hit wasn't here, and even though a lot of people did expect it. Maybe this will come as an emergency list, because, I mean, I remember we did see a tweet somewhere saying, you know, how long do you want emergency list to be implemented? But that's all speculation. That's all speculation. I can understand why, you know, Steam Maidens maybe not get hit, but it's still a bit of a bummer. It's still a bit of a bummer. But I think with premium, I did think we should have expected a lot, like at least a few more, right? A few more, because it just feels like you know, this is okay, but I feel like the Western side has cracked the format a bit more than the Japanese side. And this is not dissing the Japanese side. It's just simply we have like big tournaments that we're playing, and yeah, there's just like more data here. But at the same time, right? If we think of what gets hit as well, I think I was talking to one of my friends, like Weirab, and he was also saying, like, you know, sometimes it feels the ban lists come out like a format later, right? The correct ban list for something comes out like a format later, or like a ban list too late, right? So again, that just comes back to me saying, you know, I think we should be they should be more aggressive with it. They should be more aggressive. This is premium. It's not standard. Standard is a much more slower format in terms of like what changes, what shifts. So there can be like way more. You can use way more time and rely solely on data just for that format. But with premium, something gets found out, something's immediately broken. Nowadays, everyone has the internet, everyone's on Discord, everyone's messaging other, and bam, that idea is transmitted across the world to another region. Everyone's starting to play that now. Everyone's got that broken crazy tech. So it can be really quick. So that's kind of my thoughts, right? That's kind of my thoughts. In terms of the rating, I'll give this Banlist. I haven't really given ratings to Banlist. I think this is like a 5 out of 10, I guess. It fixed some of the biggest problems in premium, right? So that's a plus. The minus is I feel like it didn't do enough. And then in V Premium, I think the V Prem, right? I think the Couture and Percival, regardless, are correct, right? The correct hits, because eventually you would need to hit them, simply because, you know, they were pretty poorly designed cards. The Charon hit, though, I think, well, not the hit, the unrestrict is not correct, right? And the Ellie unrestrict is kind of like, yeah, because Katir is gone, I guess Ellie's fine. Yeah, so that's kind of a miss. If this was Mellow Amusements, this would be like an 8 out of 10 list. 8 out of 10 list, 100%. But because it's Charon, I'm not complaining. I'm happy. But yeah, it's V Premium is like kind of like a weird, weird format. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think I rambled quite a lot, simply because there's actually quite a few things to go on. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.